Teacher Expression in Public by Rory Craig.
So what is teacher expression in public? According to Nathan Essex, teachers are afforded the right to freedom and expression outside the classroom or in public. This also goes for social media. They do have the right to express themselves on issues that interest them, even if these interests may not be interests of the school district. A teacher has a right to express themselves as a private human being or citizen, but not as an employee of the school board. For example, if a teacher is expressing an interest that she should be allowed to teach religion in her own classroom, she cannot express this issue as Mrs. Smith, who works for the New Brunswick School Department. But she can express her right as Kate Smith with no connection to being a teacher at the New Brunswick schools. The teacher's speech should not be viewed as the official position of the school district.
A Connecticut court generated the following guidelines involving issues pertaining to freedom of expression to consider in the operation of public schools. 1. The impact of harmony, personal loyalty, and confidence among coworkers. 2. The degree of falsity of statements. 3. The place where speech or distribution of material occurred. 4. The impact on staff and students. And 5. The degree to which the teacher's conduct lacked professionalism. Social media. As we know, social media has become a huge part of many lives around the world, and it's something that teachers have to put in consideration when they start teaching. Teachers are entitled to have their own social media accounts. How these teachers handle these accounts is where problems occur. According to Essex, the court's view is that teachers are role models for their students and must be sensitive to and have responsible regard for the nature of the profession. Teachers should refrain from posting things that may raise questions regarding their ability to teach. If certain types of behavior are inappropriate in the classroom, then it is also inappropriate to post on social media. A teacher wouldn't be allowed to bring in a beer and drink it in front of her students while teaching. Therefore, if you're a teacher and you're going out and drinking beer during the week or on the weekdays, you should think before you post. It is also important that teachers refrain from being social media friends with their students and refrain from communicating with their students on these social media accounts. An easy way to avoid this is if a student requests you, just hit ignore. It may also be a good idea to warn the parents to let them know of the situation. This happens mostly with high school students, but nowadays with technology, younger children have access to iPhones and iPads, and they may have these accounts that their parents aren't even aware of. In New York City, Essex talks about many teachers who have been investigated and actually terminated for inappropriate relationships with students on social media. Most of us grew up abiding by the saying, think before you say. Well, as teachers, it is important to think before you post. There are many ways that you can avoid getting in any sort of trouble on social media. Keep your account private. Facebook may be a little bit harder to make private. The settings have changed over time, but this is more of a reason for you to be more cautious of what you're posting and who can see it. As for Instagram and Twitter, those are easy ways that you could just make private. It's one button to click, and no one is allowed access to view your profile unless you give them permission to. Limit your audiences, especially on Facebook. You are able to control who sees your posts. So if you tag a friend in on Facebook, you have to be aware of whose friends of that friends can see this post. These may be people that you aren't even friends with. So limiting access is definitely something easy to do. Just be aware of what you're posting. As I said earlier, posting a picture of you chugging beers versus you enjoying a beer at dinner is a big difference. Be aware of who might be seeing this and be aware of how people might judge you if they see it. Another easy thing that you could do is change your Facebook name or your Instagram name. Putting your middle name rather than your last name are easy ways that you could be less easy found on the internet. Is it fair that teachers are limited to their First Amendment rights? There are two sides to this one. Yes, you may think that teachers are viewed as professionals and that these laws and rules are put into place to protect them, which goes into actual protection. These laws were put here so teachers can follow certain guidelines that can't get them in trouble. You might think, no, the teachers versus private citizens idea that was mentioned earlier is definitely something to consider. Teachers are private citizens and are citizens of this country, so you may think that why should they be limited to what they say just because they are teachers? And there also goes into the account of freedom of expression. Teachers should be able to voice their opinions, especially on their own private social media accounts. Here are some do's and don'ts when dealing with social media. Here's a picture of three girls. It looks like they're enjoying dinner with a glass of wine, having a good time. They're professionally dressed. They're acting very classy and elegant, and the caption is dinner with friends. This is something that you could post on your Facebook page. It doesn't look like anyone's getting out of hand or drinking too much. It's a casual picture. Congrats to the bride. Here's the caption of a picture of a bride and her bridesmaids toasting to her wedding. You might not even know what's in those champagne flutes. It might not even be champagne, but just writing congrats to the bride allows the audience to decide that for themselves, but you're not giving any more information about what you're drinking or how you're acting. Okay, don'ts. This is actually a real picture of a student teacher actually, who lost her job. We'll get into that further in the presentation. She is wearing a pirate costume and drinking out of a Mr. Goodbar cup. We have no idea what is in the cup, but where she got in trouble is what she wrote as a caption, drunken pirate. We could assume that there's alcohol in the cup. She's getting drunk. This picture, I don't see anything wrong with it. If she just said a pirate for Halloween or enjoying Halloween as a pirate, she most likely would have been able to keep her job. Okay, this one. I'm a badass teacher getting wasted. This is wrong on all levels. It's extremely unprofessional. The girl in the photo is stating that she is a teacher. There's a man pouring alcohol down her throat, which is very, very wrong. You also have to be careful with this because even though you're not stating where you are teaching, many teachers actually do write in their Facebook bio where they do teach. So even though that you're not posting that you're a teacher at so-and-so school, someone can see this and then link that to your About You on your Facebook and see where you teach, and that's where you could get in trouble. Garcetti versus Caballos was a case that took place in 2006. The Supreme Court held that the plaintiff, who was a district attorney, was not entitled to First Amendment protection when he criticized his employer for having passed over him for a promotion, because his public statements were made as a public employee and not a private citizen. So this doesn't really touch upon teaching, but it goes into the fact that teachers have to be careful what they say as public employees of a school district versus a private citizen. Spannerman versus Hughes. This took place in 2008 in Connecticut. Jeffrey Spannerman created a MySpace page to communicate with his students. He was a high school teacher who wasn't tenured. So MySpace isn't as popular right now, but back in 2008 it was very popular. and many students who were in high school had access to it. Spatterman was placed on administrative leave and declined to renew his teaching contract the following year, so that's after this court case was finished. He claimed that his procedural and substantive due process rights were violated, and both were rejected, along with his freedom of speech claim that was also rejected. The court ruled that the MySpeech page was likely to disrupt school activities, and ruled that this was a district's call on what type of decision they wanted to make. It's really important that districts put in policies that teachers have to sign off on. That way they know what's expected of them. If this school did have type of policy, then the district can make an easy decision by terminating the teacher because he did not abide by these rules. Snyder versus Millersville University. This is the drunken pirate picture. This happened in 2006. Also when MySpace was popular. Stacey Snyder was a 25-year-old student teacher, so she wasn't actually a teacher at the school. She was working towards her teaching certification. She posted a picture of herself in a pirate costume drinking from a cup to her MySpace profile with the caption, "Drunken Pirate." Millersville University School of Education, which was in Pennsylvania, explained that her profile promoted drinking and she would be prevented from receiving her teaching degree. Snyder sued the university. The judge did find that the picture was not a matter of public concern but personal concern. So she wasn't posting anything such as politics or community matters that might relate to the public concern or community, but this was a personal concern of drinking. And here's the picture again. The court also found that her cooperating teacher, along with her university supervisor, brought back their records of her evaluations, and many of her ratings for the professionalism aspect needed improvement or were unsatisfactory. So she actually was provoked her right to get her teaching certification because of this. And the high school had rules and regulations that she had to abide by, including maintaining the same professional standards expected of the teaching employees at the school. So she violated those standards, but the university fortunately let her graduate with her BA in English. Here's a case of Mindy Jensen. These are some Instagram photos that I actually found on her Instagram because it's not private. She was a middle school teacher, and her page was some sort of fitness motivation page to inspire others. And she was not in danger of losing her job. After parents saw her page, they thought that it was inappropriate because she was in skimpy bikinis and showing off a lot of skin and body parts. So the school actually asked her to make it private, and she thought about it, but then she realized, why do I need to make my Instagram private when I'm helping others to inspire to get fit and in shape? And if it's private, then these types of people cannot view her profile and get that inspiration.